Leola told Mr. Yeah, cause y'all Israel. Still got my wave cap on. Getting ready to lay it down. But I wanted to just stop by for another segment. It's about Proverbs. Now, I named this the euphoric process for character because Proverb, Masal, Mem, Sin, Ahmed in Hebrew is the denominative form of lichen, as well as the transitive form, something that is used in a figurative language or an allegory or even a song or the like, but it resembles two things: to be like something, to come to liking of something, as well again as being compared. It is to use the proverb, which is the original sense of the superiority in the mental actions of properly, which is an epithet or a maximum, the metaphorical nature of a simile, a byword, and a parable, and it's to rule the dominion and have dominion, to govern, indeed reign, and bear the rule, is to have power. Now, adage is the usual epithet with the familiar statement of expressing an observation or the principle. And again, remember the principle is the general or the fundamental law of a thing, right? Where other truths are derived. Where again, a principle that is generally accepted as wise or true. The allegory is the means of expressing and explaining one thing under the imagination or under the guise of another object. And is to type of conveyance of a moral truth in every allegory, okay, is a kind of parable, which contains a statement of a few simple facts. The denominative is giving or the constituting of a name of designation or with a step-by-step process, okay? The transitive of the proverb is the expressing of an action that is carried on from a subject to object, requiring a direct object to complete the meaning. Now that to me sounds like an equation, like the rule of three, because you have to have a subject, an object, as well as a direct object in order to complete the transitive format. Okay? So you must have two terms to get to the third term, right? Again, the rule of three. I'm going to get to that here in a second. Now, the object that you must have is to feel of adverse and express disapproval of something or something perceptible, especially to the senses of vision. So you have to have something that you can express that your senses can pick up on. Like you can describe a smell, you can describe how something feels, how something tastes, how something looks. All right, as far as an object when looking at it in a perceptible matter. And then, of course, you have your other sense of objection is when you're giving a disapproval to a statement, like in court, right? Somebody yell out, "I object," because they feel like uh, the plaintiff or the defendant is going off on a tangent, or it can possibly hurting a case type thing, right? But it is something perceptible, especially to the senses of vision or touch, which is a focus of attention, of feeling, thought, or action, something intelligible or perceptible by the mind, which gains the purpose of aiming and goaling of the specific action or effort. Now, the subject is under the power or the authority of another, disposed or contingent or dependent, but is also a person or thing concerning which something is said or done, a basis for action or cause. So, essentially, for the transitive action, for this equation, for this proverb, we need it to be something that's perceptible to the mind as feeling and touch, uh, sight and taste, as well as for the subject, it needs to be concerning with something that is said or done, or a basis of action or cause, right? So those are the two things we are going to need in order to get the direct object, right? In order to get to the rule of three. Now, the equation is the act of equating or making equal or equally balancing state or having the equilibrium, which is an expression or the proposition, often algebraic, which is asserting the quality of two quantities, the subject plus the object, as a mathematical statement that both expressions are equal, and it is either an identity in which the variables can assume any value, or a condition of equation in which the variable have only certain value roots, right? Of a background, lineage, birthplace, origin, race, descendants, genealogies. Genealogy is a fancy way of saying family tree. Now we look at the rule of three, right? And the rule of three states that if two ratios, which we have, subject and object, are equal, then the denominator of the second equals its numerator times the reciprocal of the first ratio. So that's real complicated, right? Not really, because I'm going to give you an example. Two values of a subject are given, and one object is known. To get to the fourth term, now you must find the unknown term, the unknown, right? It's going to be represented as UK. It's unknown. So unknown is equal to the subject times the object divided by the subject, which will give us the equal term. Or we can even do for the unknown is the subject times object divided by a direct object as well. But for the instance, the subject is Israel. Israel is, the subject is Israel. The object is slavery. And when trying to see the end result, we need the third term, right? So we have Judah times 400 years of slavery. Now we have that third term that we can unlock with this, which is Yahweh ben Yahweh, because he's the answer to the ending captivity for our people, right? Because it's unto Shiloh shall the gathering of the people be. So now we have the third term, which is the direct object, right? Which again is Yahweh ben Yahweh. And the equaling to the fourth term or the foundation is rulership. Praise Yahweh. So the subject is identity, and the object, which is the conditional equation, will equal you the third term, right? So to prove is to establish the truth or the validity by the presentation of an argument or evidence, as well as to establish the authenticity of a will, which is to determine the quality of by testing, trying out, and experiencing and undergoing different tests. Now, the proverb is a short, pithy saying in frequent and widespread uses that express a well-known truth or fact. A pithy is a brief, forceful, and meaningful in expression, but is full of vigor, is full of substance, and it has full of meaning, and it is forcible. Pith, which is the base word for pithy, is the importance or the essential part. That means it's absolutely necessary for that essence of core of heart. And that is really what Proverbs breaks down to. All of that. It's an equation. It's something that you know that's comparable. It's something that can be, based on a few simple facts. It's an equation of finding the third term, which will help you get to the fourth term. It's so many ways to look at it, right? It's more than just being called a byword, because now you know what goes in with the byword and why are we being called a proverb and a byword, because we have two other factors that falls underlined to get us to that term of that, right? So chapter 1 of Proverbs Verse 1 is the Proverbs of Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel. Now, Solomon's name, Shlomo, which is Shin Lachmed Memhe, it means peaceful, but also means safe and well-being or happy, friendly, abstractly, welfare, that is health of prosperity, peace, fair, favor, and good. Now, another take on Shlomo or Solomon name is Salam, which is Sin Lahmed Memsofi, which means to be safe in mind, body, and estate. Figuratively, is to be completed by the implication and to be friendly, to be reciprocating in the various applications of making amends, being full, being given again in restitution as well as reward. Now, welfare in the American Heritage Dictionary, copyright 1982, on page 1372, means health, happiness, and general well-being of prosperity. So we're not talking about being on welfare because you don't want to work or something crazy like that. Welfare, in this essence, is just being well-rounded with happiness and general being well-being and prosperity, right? Now, the reciprocating factor is to give or take mutually. So it's to give or take, meaning you are so prosperous and you are so uh, well-being at happiness that you have enough to give a half a bowl of soup as well as take a half a bowl of soup, right? Mutual is having the same relationship each to the other, directed and received in equal amount. Again, I have enough to give to you. You have enough to give to me, keeping our bowls actually full because we put in our bowls together, right? Again, like I was saying in the other class in Galatians chapter 6, verse 9, where it says, again, in every opportunity, right? Be friendly and help out others. In every opportunity, we must show forth that half a bowl of soup, that love. Hey, if you need someone to talk to, I'm here to talk to. If you need advice, I can give you advice. If you need help, I'm here to help, right? But I expect that same amount of, care in return because it's a half a bowl of soup, right? That's how we stay united. That's how we stay one, right? Full is containing all that is normal or possible, as well as complete in every particular, being at the peak of development or maturity, is totally qualified, accepted, or in power. So again, when we are in rulership, then we are back fully free. Full. We are made full again. When we are full, we are at a state of maturity as Israel, as Yehuda, being in rulership, being totally qualified, meaning we are totally the resurrection of Abel, who was qualified to rule, right? And we're going to read this one here, and then we'll go ahead and break this video. But it's Proverbs chapter 1, verse 2, which means to know wisdom and instruction is to perceive the words of understanding. So you see, we have three rules here. We have wisdom, instruction, and understanding. Now, that fourth term for this, for us, would be rulership, being full. To be full is to know the wisdom, be instructed, and have understanding of the instructions, which will give you the Godhead in ruling, right? Now, two, from the New Lexicon Webster Dictionary, copyright 1989, is used to indicate someone or something of indication of a result, which is used to indicate an object of a right or claim, with the respect to subject criticism. Again, here we have the object plus subject equals third term. Wisdom, instruction equals understanding, right? That means you are teachable. Praise Yahweh, as we just said, which will again, the underlining would be rulership. No, right? Yalak. Yalak in Hebrew, no, right? Properly is, well, and I'm sorry, Yulak is Yud Lahmed Hasselhoff, all right, which is properly to ascertain by seeing, used in a figurative of literal, euphemistically, and as well inferential, which is including the observation of care, recognition, causatively, the instruction, designation, and punishment, right? Is to be aware and comprehend and consider and discern. So when it says to know already, is saying that you have the propensity to understand and discern the dangers of not being wise, the danger of not being instructable, the danger of not having understanding is hell, right? Which is also a fourth term for the opposite negative meaning, right? So again, words are very important to know and to be able to inquire with great inclination of what they mean, because you'll be able to see the duality of what you're trying to read, right? Because just off the word to, which is indicating something, it means it's a red flag is indicating, hey, pay attention to me, right? To know, right, is to reach a certain position of understanding of saying, okay, it's something here I need to pay attention to. It's a warning. It's a red flag, right? And then no is that red flag of being ascertained by seeing, right? Seeing is observation. Observation is studying. So to study wisdom and instruction, then you'll receive the words of understanding, right? Again, seeing is studying. So to study, right? To understand that if I did not have this, I would still be living a carnal life, putting myself in danger for the final and second death, which would be hell, right? So that's why it's very important to read and break words down and really try to inculcate what you are reading. Read it over 100 times if you have to, just to understand it, because a certain from, again, the American Heritage Dictionary, copyright 1982, means to discover, right? So to discover wisdom and instruction is to perceive the words of understanding. Look, because again, we have a certain from know, right? We have be aware from know. We have comprehend from know. We have consider from know. We have discern from know. To discern wisdom, to consider wisdom, to comprehend wisdom, to be aware of wisdom, to designate wisdom, to instruct wisdom and instructions, even from a teaching standpoint, right? But a certain is to discover through the examination. So you have to examine. You have to put on the white apron and the thick leather gloves with the goggles, and you got to start mixing up elements, right? But it's the experimentation. It's to make certain and definite, right? It's to decide, which is the next step of the conclusion, the deduction and interference, the consequence, the corollary, as well as the induction. And to make sure, which is make no doubt, make no mistake, and erase all doubt, and as well as ensure and satisfy. In order to prove, right from the Rogas International Thesaurus, is demonstrating, showing, affording, proof of, proving to be, prove true, settle, bring home to, and nail down. And then, of course, the study is the application of the mind to the acquisition of knowledge, such as by reading, investigating, and reflecting. Praise Yahweh. So we're gonna put a pause on it right there. I pray Yahweh bless your mind as well as your heart, and I pray that Yahweh ben Yahweh set your mind free. Because if the Son sets you free, you are free indeed. John chapter 8, verse 36, I believe. I love you, family. Y'all have a great night. Tehillah, Yahweh.